Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and servpro.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Y TV and tonight's broadcast of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. We have the War Turtle Wine Country Grand Prix here tonight. I gotta say, War Turtle Racing jumping on board for the sponsor of this race. Very cool to have because we're not just turning left, we're turning right here tonight at the lovely Napa Valley, the Sonoma Raceway that's out there in California. This 12-turn, 2.53-mile road course will be very tricky for these drivers. The first of 3 road courses this season in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. I'm Peter Short. Joining me in the booth here tonight is Greg Rentz and Mr. Jim Foose. And I'll tell you what, Greg, great to be turning left and right here tonight. Very, very interesting to see how these cars are driving around this racetrack. But we've had an extended qualifying session, a 40-minute session. How do you think that's affecting these drivers?
What it's doing, Peter, is some of these drivers are taking one lap and calling it good and sitting on that, and that could wind up costing them because with 40 minutes left, you have an opportunity to really use this as an extra practice session, and some of these drivers are electing the one-and-done strategy. So some of these guys are sitting in their car for quite some time without turning a lap before we go green. So it's going to be kind of interesting these first couple laps. These drivers who went out, set a lap, and decided to sit on that for a while to try to get things going and get a good starting spot, they're not turning laps as far as some of the other guys who are treating this like a practice session. So I think the more laps you turn in this qualifying session, the better off you're going to be at the start of the race.
Well, it is an open qualifying session, so they can actually get back out there and improve on their lap time. That's one of the abilities you have here in iRacing, is to set an open qualifying session. So these drivers, really, their best lap in their 40 minutes is what they're going to have as their qualifying time per se. And you do have number 10 of Nick Curling sitting atop the board, Doug Mullins in second, Greg Evans third, and AJ Digby and Brian Yazik rounding out your top 5. And I'll tell you what, Jim, you see drivers like Nick Curling up there at the top, Doug Mullins, Greg Evans, AJ Digby, Brian Yazik. Are these drivers you expect to be up at the top? Are these your road course ringers per se?
Well, absolutely, and you come to the road course, it just shakes everything up for what you're used to. So a little bit surprised to see Greg Evans up there as fast as he is. He's really good on the ovals. Didn't know he was this good at the road courses, but he's just a total package this year. And no surprise to me that Nick Curling is leading the way. He won our team's last road course race last season. He picked up the win over on the Charlotte Roval in the Surf Pro Grand National Series. So not surprised to see him atop the board. He's a great road course driver. And War Turtle Racing, of course, his new team. And they put a lot of effort into road racing as well. They do all the endurance races. And then they sponsor this race as well. And just want to give a shout out to Jay Crable. He's out working on his real race car, getting ready to head out for his first race, I believe, this weekend. So good luck to Jay on that. Thanks for being a part of this event here tonight.
Yeah, if you don't follow Jay Crable on social media, awesome to see what he's been working on, his car over the last couple months, painting it up, taking out all of the original internals of the car, getting a roll cage in it so he can get it out there on the racetrack. So do wish him well. We do have Aunt Kathy and Nikki Worsler in the chat here tonight. How's it going, guys? Hope all is well with you. But here at Sonoma, The car is still turning laps here in this qualifying session. Let's see if we can go on board with Adam Jersky here in the Beef Jersky's Cheesecake number 69 machine. He's working his way through turn number 7 right now, down into turn number 8. If you actually count the number of turns around this racetrack, there's a lot more than 12. But the corner numbering here is fairly unique. So, Adam Jersky here going through corner 8A. Yes, that is 8A. Now into turn number 9, getting a little bit over the curbs. And curb management is going to be so important here tonight, as well as tire management. As you see him all up out of shape there going through turn number 10 into turn number 11. This is the penultimate corner on the racetrack. Try and get as close to those tire barrels as possible. And you can see in his mirror, he does have a fast charging number 52 of Grant Brown right behind him. Grant trying to get a little bit of space to see if he can get a better lap in. But Jersky, as he goes up into turn number 1 and turn number 2 here, just cresting turn number 2. Very difficult corner there, very easy to lock up the brakes, carry too much speed. Gotta say, you gotta woe down the race car there in turn number 2. Now through turn number 3 and 3A. Cresting right there at the top of turn number 3A, and then it's all downhill from there on this racetrack. Turn number 4, right-hander into turn number 5. Very, very fast corner. A lot of wheel spin can happen here. Drivers will be watching out for that here tonight. Now into turn number 6. This long left-hander, very long left-hander. The car really flattens out right there at the end. The track flattens out. You get a lot of suspension travel right at the end. You have to watch out for your car being unsettled in that point. Now into turn number 7, the most difficult braking point on this entire racetrack. You're carrying a lot of speed into turn number 7. Got to watch out for some wheel hop there. I'm sure these drivers will be playing around with their brake bias to find that into their settings. But here, through turn number 8 into turn number 8A, that's really the rhythm part of the racetrack. It is one little turn leads into another down through those S's, and if you mess up the first one, it can be a snowballing effect on your lap time through turn number 10 and into turn number 11 now here right on the brakes. And that is a lap around Sonoma Raceway with that number 69 Beef Jersky's Cheesecake machine. I'll tell you what, Greg, very, very quick lap here, but we do have to think about the championship. Who will come away with another win here tonight and write their name in the storybooks for the 2020 Hacksaw PC's Premier Series Championship? Let's see if we can bring up those points. There they are. John Jenkins leading the way, 39 points over Greg Evans. You've seen Jenkins be very, very fast tonight, but that number 7, John Jenkins, he's currently down in the 10th position, just inside the top 10. Can Greg Evans close in here tonight? We'll find out. Tyler Seville in the number 11 machine, he's up to 3rd in points, only 59 markers off the lead. Mitch Brown, your reigning Hacksaw PC's Series champion, he's in 4th. Krobach in 5th. Yazik in 6th. McKee, Warser, Troy Haight, and Jason Stewart round out your top 10. Jim, I'll tell you what, it's going to be an interesting race here tonight. No cautions. How do you think these drivers are going to manage their tires? Because they do have 2 sets on pit road that they can come down and take.
Well, guaranteed no cautions tonight, so that's an interesting part of it. You don't have to worry about pitting too soon and getting a caution and then being stuck out on the track multiple laps down. So that's not going to be an issue for the drivers. Like you mentioned, the tire wear will be. I've heard guys doing 15, 15, and 15 since it's a 45-lap race. I've heard of guys doing 20, 15 on the second run there. I have no idea how it's going to work out. It's been a long time since the Cup Series has been to Sonoma. I got lost somewhere over there between turn 7 and 8A, and I don't know where I was. The GPS couldn't get me back on the track, but it's been a while since we've been here. And the course has changed. We're on the longer course now, so really just an interesting concept ahead of us.
Well, I was going to say, to your credit, there are multiple configurations of this racetrack that multiple series run across the world. So, you know, it is an interesting thing to come to this very unique racetrack in this new configuration. We're just now wrapping up the qualifying session. There is a little bit of a buffer time in between the qualifying session and the race while all these drivers finish their fast timed lap. They are able to do so in this qualifying session. But Greg, long race here tonight, 45 laps. Do you think, what's your prediction? Do you think we're going to see 2 stops here tonight, or do you think we're going to see some drivers maybe just try 1 stop?
We might see some drivers try the one-stop strategy, but I like the split it into two strategy there, Peter, because this is such a long race. I mean, 45 laps normally doesn't sound like a long race until you find out that this is a 2.5 mile road course. It's going to be a long day, so you're going to be wearing out those tires with all the braking zones, trying to get back on, all the fluctuating of the fuel tank with the hills and everything. I think two stops is the way to go here.
Well, we will have to wait and find out. The checkered flag has been thrown on the qualifying session. Doesn't look like we have any cars out there on the racetrack, so we can confirm that driver of the number 10 War Turtle Racing Machine, Nick Hurling, will put it on the pole. And I gotta say, Mr. Jay Crable's probably super excited to hear that in his garage right now here in the War Turtle Racing Wine Country Grand Prix at Sonoma Raceway. It is 114 miles in length here tonight, so a fairly lengthy race, and tires will be a talking point all night long. You've got to save those tires, and like you mentioned, Greg, a lot of drivers were just doing a single lap in that qualifying session, not really putting together a long run, so there's a lot of unknowns amongst the field here tonight. Let's go down to tonight's starting lineup for this War Turtle Racing Wine Country Grand Prix, and starting on the pole, that man right there, fantastic lap time of 136.952, just pipped the number 18 of Doug Mullins, who will start alongside him on row number 1. Those two were 1-2 in the qualifying session for pretty much the last half of the qualifying session, and right behind them on row number 2, Greg Evans in the number 2 machine, trying to close in on the number 7 machine of John Jenkins for the points lead here tonight. And starting alongside him, AJ Digby in one of his first Hacksaw PC's Premier Series starts. We'll have to see whether or not he can get his first top 5. Starting on row number 3, the number 55 of Brian Yazik, and to his outside, the number 29 of Will Worser. Not a big road course racer, but a good qualifying run for that number 29. Starting on row number 4, the number 84 of Woody Mahan, and the number 11 of Tyler Seville just to his outside in that sliced porcupines machine. Behind them, we got the number 50 of Christopher Bouchard on the inside of row number 5, and to his outside, your current Hacksaw PC's Premier Series points leader, the number 7 of John Jenkins, Greg.
Kelsey Rogers will roll off 11th, looking for a bounce back after having such a strong run at Michigan. Get thrown out the window on a pit stop when he hit the wall. He will roll off next to Adam Jersky in the number 69 in the 12th position. Mark Cohn in the number 39 will roll off 13th, with Mitch Brown back in the driver's seat after a week off last week. He spent it with us here in the broadcast booth, but he's back where he wants to be, behind the wheel tonight. Michael Krobach, a good run last week in Michigan, started on the pole there. He's rolled off in the 15th position with Troy Haight, who had such a strong run at Dover, still looking to keep the momentum going. He rolled off 16th. Couple Dirty Bird cars, John Broussard and Grant Brown making up row number 9, 17th and 18th, with Alan Young, winner on Thursday in our first throwback night, with Tony Schoen rounding out the top 20. Jim.
Yeah, Jimmy McKee starts in 21st with James Lorello in 22nd. That's another of the War Turtle cars, Lorello that is. Chris Stouffer in 23rd and Sam Crow 24th. Richard Stella is 25th, Cody Spiker 26th. Jason Stewart, 27th. Pete Baskins in the number 27 at 28th. Michael Whiting in 29th. And Tim Knott in car number 41 starts third.
And rounding out your 38 car field, the number 22 of Chris Hughes and Mark Myers on row number 16. Edward Bray and Richard Fletcher on row number 17. John Gallagher and J.R. Bash are the last 2 cars to take time in 35th and 36th. And then Todd Kirkwood in the number 86 machine was unable to complete a lap in the qualifying session. He will start 38th. Ty Hester in the number 36 machine. He has not presented to the grid in that number 36 machine, so it does look like, as of right now, we have 37 cars out there, and Ty Hester will be scored with a DNS, a did not start. Well, I'll tell you what, Jim, a little bit short. We kind of had to restrain you from running down there to one of the backup cars in the paddock. So you're not starting here tonight. But personally, what are your thoughts about turning left and right?
Well, honestly, it's the one kind of track I've never won on. Really, it's really cool to watch. It's really cool to go to a road course and watch racing. It's not something that I want to do a whole lot. As far as tonight's concerned, the guys that I think are going to be the best are the guys with the IndyCar experience. They have a lot of experience here at Sonoma. We'll see how they do.
Absolutely. Big difference between the lightweight, high downforce Indy cars and these very, very heavy, high horsepower Cup cars, as the Chevy Silverado pace truck paces us around turn number 10. I'm sure a lot of these drivers have butterflies in their stomach, and you can kind of see that the rundown into turn number 11, your pole sitter, the 10 of Curling, is actually on the left side. So he's on the outside here going into turn number 11, but he will have the inside advantage going up into turn number 1. The interesting thing is it flips back for turn number 2. The car on the right has the better line for turn number 2. How will that affect the start of this race as the green flag is flown and the number 10 of Curling having a little bit of a problem getting going, and it looks like Doug Mullins at number 18 got a fantastic start. He was outside and Mullins breaks loose, saves it. What a save for that number 18 machine. But this is what I was mentioning. The inside line for turn number 2 is on the right, and it does look like Doug Mullins in that number 18 machine. Oh, here comes the number 10 machine, and we have a spin out in the back. Not quite sure who that is. Curling took the lead. Oh, it's Michael Krobach in the number 72 machine, who's gone around in the HPPsimulation.com machine. He's just had rotten luck here as of late in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. There's the number 50 of Bouchard, and the 7 machine checking up. The 50 also going around. Let's see if we can see what happened to Krobach in the number 72. We've stayed clean and green up at the front, however. So there's Bouchard going around. A little bit of damage to that car, and now you can see the 72 of Krobach. He's already lost a lot of track position here. As of right now, Krobach's lost 12 positions. John Jenkins, he's lost 6 here in the start, and Bouchard, the biggest loser in the first half of a lap, he's lost 24 positions, Greg. That's not how you want to start a race.
Oh, definitely not, Peter. Fortunately for him, this is such a long race, he can get it back. But I think what we're seeing right now in the early stages kind of alludes to what Jim is talking about right before we went green. The drivers with the road course experience in the Indy cars and various other road course racing series here on iRacing, series that come to Sonoma on a normal basis, you're seeing those guys really shine here early. But up front, Nick Curling going to come around through the hairpin and lead lap number 1. But I'm just so impressed with how Greg Evans has made himself known already, not just his 6 wins on the oval. He's showing that he can get it done on the road course as well, in the second spot for car number 2 in his second race with that car number. But Nick Curling officially leads lap number 1, and we're starting to see them spread out a little bit here, guys. They're starting to spread out up front pretty evenly right now. No real pressure going on from anyone up in at least the top 10 that I see. It looks like everyone's kind of settling in to let this thing sort itself out for the first few laps.
Guys, we just had the number 76 machine right here in front of the 3-wide TV booth lose control, and he put it in the tire barriers right on the front stretch. That number 76 machine, he has taken it to the garage, I do believe. Let's see what happened right there. Looks like he clipped the inside wall, and that just shot him into those green tire barriers. That, unfortunately, that number 76 machine doesn't look like he will go any further here tonight. We also did see Todd Kirkwood in the number 86 machine. He took it down pit road in the Time Rev Ford Mustang. There you see the number 76 having his troubles once again. But like we mentioned, Jim, no cautions here tonight. And if you're one of those drivers who had that tough start, yeah, it's a long race. You can make up a lot of positions, but there's no cautions to kind of reset the field.
Well, the biggest problem is that those guys find themselves in a hole early on, and by trying to make up time, they dig a hole that's even deeper and deeper and deeper as the race goes on, because they go off track, they lose control, things happen, they're overdriving the car, they're wearing the tires out a little sooner than normal. So it all comes down to being patient about it, using the time wisely, watching the laps, racing the track. You know, one of the things that Greg talked about was how the road racers hit on the point that I brought up earlier about the road racers being good here. 80% of being good at a road course is knowing the track map and knowing how the track is laid out, knowing what the next corner is. And for guys that are used to turning left every week, a lot of us don't know the layout very well. You know, the next corner, oh, it's a right-hander as soon as you get to the top of the hill. And it comes up on you and just kind of surprises you. It's just like when you're cruising down the road, you're doing 55 down a country road, and there's a sharp left-hand corner right in front of you.
Yeah, Google says make a left in 10 feet, and you're like, what? But I'll tell you what, the number 14 machine, AJ Digby, right there, having a good job getting into his group. He's lost a little bit of ground to the number 18 of Doug Mullins, but just settling in and riding here. Saving your tires is going to be very, very important as this race goes on. We also saw a spin last lap. Oh, JR Bash in the number 4 machine has just bashed the turn 2 wall. And that number 4 machine now is looking a little bit worse for wear. He's lost his front end and took a tow. Let's see what happened here. I mentioned this at the top of the show that this turn number 2, very easy to miss your braking point. He just overshot the run up to turn number 2 just a little bit, got off into the grass, could not get woed down and into the tire barriers just like that. The number 4 machine's night looks to be done. Now I will say, James Lorello in the number 3 machine, he also had a spin about a lap ago in the War Turtle Racing machine. He's well back in the field now, back to 32nd. He spun it coming out of turn number 6. Like I said, coming out of turn number 6, the car kind of pancakes and your suspension travel is quite immense. And unfortunately, Lorello got on the power just a little bit too early and looped it around. Looks like he didn't get any damage from that, but he did get some damage from the first lap scuffles on that number 3 machine. There's Mark Cohn in the number 39 machine. I expect a good run out of him. And I'll tell you what, Jim, this goes back to what you said. Mark Cohn has a lot of laps in open wheel type cars, and you said that this race is going to cater to those type of people. And Mark Cohn currently, he's up 1 spot and battling with Adam Jersky right in front of him.
Yeah, Mark Cohn is one of those IndyCar guys. Brian Yazik is one of those guys. I believe I've seen Digby run an IndyCar every now and then. The guy that is going to be the surprise of the night is Woody Mahan in the 84. He almost won at Mid-Ohio a couple weeks ago with the Surf Pro Grand National Series. Got just inched out there by Andy Warren, who went almost 10 years without a win in ASRS, but picked up the win there at Mid-Ohio. So I think Woody's going to be really good. He's very patient. He's just got to get through the race, get some laps here, and race the track. And most importantly, keep the 84 Ford on the blacktop and out of the dirt.
Absolutely. And Greg, keeping the car on the blacktop, that's really one of the keys to the race. Whether you're up at the front or you're near the back of the pack, just got to keep it on the pavement.
Yeah, going back a couple weeks ago to another race that we broadcasted on 3Y TV. Well, you guys broadcasted. I was actually in the driver's seat at the Charlotte Roval, which what we talked about a little bit earlier. I was in that race, and it was not pretty driving that thing, trying to keep it on the track. It's just so important at a road course. And if you go off the track, even just one half of your tires, like say for instance your right side tires just clip the dirt, it can be so costly trying to get that thing wound back up. And I actually ran into the problem a couple of times getting my tire off in the grass, and it just sent me for a loop, and before you knew it, you were losing another 10 seconds. So keeping the car on the racing surface is probably another very important factor in road course racing. I'd say another probably 10%, going back to what Jim talked about with 80% being knowing what turn is next, keeping your car on the track, probably another 10, maybe even 15% of that recipe there.
Yeah, and let's call that other 10% dumb luck. You got to have some luck during the race and not get run over from behind, not get caught up in somebody else's spin or run off the track or anything like that. So we'll call the other 10% luck.
Absolutely, and we saw a couple of cars get around the stop number 13 of Christopher. He looped it around in turn number 11 last time by. He's able to recover in that number 13 machine. He's currently down in the 24th position. We did see Christopher Bouchard in the number 50 machine. We saw him on lap number 1 have troubles. Well, those troubles got worse. He fell out of the session, a little bit of connection issues on that race car, and unfortunately, he is not back out on the racetrack as of yet. We also are hearing that J.R. Bash in the number 4 machine has called it a night. John Gallagher in the number 76 machine, however, he was able to take a tow back to pit road. He's currently missing a full front end on that number 76 machine after nosing it into the tire barriers right here on the front stretch in turn number 12 at number 76 modified, though. He's going to see if he can get a few extra spots from other retirements up in front of him. Here we go, on board with the number 55 of Brian Yazik. Yazik started in the 6th position. He did lose a spot to the number 29 of Warser, but he's not letting Warser go anywhere, Greg.
No, he's really not. He's doing a good job hanging with them. And at the road course, patience is so key here. You just got to kind of wait it out. So many different chances to make a pass here. You don't have to go all out as soon as you get to the bumper of a car in front of you, you can kind of just hang out and wait for them to make a mistake. And by riding out, kind of like what Jacek's doing right now, he's kind of finding where on the track he's better than Will Worsler. On a typical oval race, you really can only settle it down to a couple spots. You know, I'm better in 1 and 2. He's better in 3 and 4. My best shot's going to be 1 and 2. Here, you've got so many options. You know, oh, he's better in this specific right-hander, but I'm better in the next 2 left-handers. But he's good in the next left-hander before I get him in the hairpin. There's so many different options here for you to be able to make a move that you can afford to kind of hang out for a couple laps behind a guy, kind of like what Jacek's doing now, and just kind of figure it out and feel out where you're better. And here he is trying to make his move here as he gets a run on Worsler, who's able to shut the door. But you saw right there, Jacek kind of took a shot and said, hey, I might be better than the hairpin. I'll take a shot here. But Worsler was able to shut the door and telegraph that move out. But when you're at a road course, you're turning left and right, so many different characteristics about this track. You have ample opportunity to make your move and plenty of chances if you mess up one specific shot, plenty of chances to get it back.
Absolutely. We have a good battle, really, for the 5th position between Worsler, Jacek, Woody Mahan, and Tyler Seville. In fact, Seville was all over the back bumper of Woody Mahan coming out of turn number 11 to hairpin just before the start-finish line. Do believe that Seville has lost a little bit of a gap, but then we have a good battle a little bit further back, brewing for the 11th position. Adam Jersey was inside the top 10, but Mark Cohn took that spot from him, and Kelsey Rogers and John Jenkins have both caught the number 69 machine here, working through turn number 5 into turn number 6. This long left-hander looks like John Jenkins a little bit faster than the 2 cars in front of him last time by. About 0.7 of a second faster than Kelsey Rogers and about a full second faster than Adam Jersey. That number 7 machine starting to work his way up towards the top 10. You see him trying to make a move. Here we go, looking back out the back of that number 69 Beef Jerseys Cheesecake machine. Look at how the 34 there of Kelsey Rogers just kind of hooked the inside of turn number 7. And now they're going through the S's, turn number 8 into turn number 8A. And you saw kind of the flip there. The 34 of Rogers, he wasn't able to hit his first apex, and it kind of snowballed. He lost ground all the way through turn number 8, all the way down into turn number 8A, and Jenkins is going to get a run on him. Look at Jenkins get all up out of shape. We're going to see that a lot here tonight, especially as these tires get older. Jersey looks like he missed his brake marker there going into turn number 11. He ran a little bit wide, and that's going to allow Kelsey Rogers to make the move around the outside. And let's see if Jenkins can make something here, Jen.
Yeah, Jenkins was a little bit hot down into the hairpin down there, so not sure if he lost any ground by doing that. Looks like Kelsey Rogers pulled in front of Jersey, but Jenkins was very hot down into that corner, and I thought he was going to clip the back of the 34. Not the corner that you want to get clipped going into. We can ask Kyle Petty about that one sometime. But, man, I'll tell you what, Jersey is really surprising me in that 69 car. He's holding on pretty good, had some good speed and running some clean laps. He's just getting beat by guys, I think, that just are a little bit faster at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to repeat Kyle Petty's words there after getting dumped in turn number 11. That was always fun. Of course, the in-race reporter for that race, too. That was made for some interesting TV time. And here comes.
Like, he gave the invocation like 2 minutes before that happened.
That was something like that. Oh, here comes the number 34 off the racetrack. Kelsey Rogers completely missed the entrance into turn number 8. He's going to lose a lot of positions here. He looks like he's off the pace. Let's see what happened here coming out of turn number 7. I'm wondering if he just got the power down a little bit too early and it broke free from him. I don't know. Something looked like broke or something happened with his hardware or something. He's got back going, but Kelsey Rogers is going to lose a lot of positions here. He's going to fall all the way back to 15th. He got passed by Jenkins, Jersey, Brown, and Broussard, as that battle now for the 11th position is going to continue between Jenkins all the way back to Broussard in the number 53 machine. It's a little bit of a gap back to Kelsey Rogers, but Greg, we'll have to see here if that number 7 machine of John Jenkins can pull away now that he has some clean air on the nose.
We'll see. He's still under pressure from Jersey right now, but it looks like he does have plenty of space in front of him to be able to focus and run his line as they enter the new section of Sonoma, well, the new old section. The Cup Series only went there once last year before, unfortunately, this year's race got canceled due to the pandemic, but we have seen so many classic moments through this section right here. This is so much fun to watch these guys go through here, this carousel onto the drag strip. I'm so excited to be able to finally see it here. But what we're seeing out of Jenkins right now, he is able to pull away a little bit from Adam Jersky and try to reel in Mark Cohn, who's next up. And that, by the way, is for a spot in the top 10. So John Jenkins trying to get up there, the points leader, with a good opportunity here to pull away and try to gain some more ground, because Greg Evans in the number 2 has slipped back to the 4th position right now, as both Doug Mullins and AJ Digby have gotten around him. So with Evans falling down on the scoring pylon, with Jenkins slowly climbing up, it's good news for the 7 car. But the guy who's got really good news right now is the number 10 of Nick Curling, as he has opened up a 4-second lead over new second place driver Doug Mullins in the number 18.
Yeah, but don't count out Greg Evans. He's also turning some pretty quick laps. He had a little bit of a hiccup when he lost those positions, but since he's been able to close back in on AJ Digby, it looked like it happened in turn number 6. He just ran wide, went off the racetrack a couple laps ago, lost the 2nd position, the 3rd position, and fell all the way back to 4th. But he has reeled back in AJ Digby. Another change of position inside the top 10. Tyler Seville in the number 11 Slice Porcupines machine. He got up into the 7th position after getting around Woody Mahan. In fact, he is now closing in on the back of Brian Yazik for 6th, and his team owner Will Worsler for the 5th position, as you ride on board with Greg Evans here going off into turn number 7. This double apex right-hander, you really got to get it woed up. You got to get the car rotating through the corner for the launch up out of turn number 7 into the S's. Very, very important part of the racetrack to get right. If you don't get turn number 7 right into turn number 8, like I said, it's a definite snowball. As it looks like we do see the number 34 of Kelsey Rogers on pit road. Not quite sure if this is related to what we saw a little bit ago when he had that trouble coming out of turn number 7, or is there something more? We'll have to see here. Going out of turn number 4 into turn number 5 here, and definitely having some issues. Looks like the car just went straight up off the racetrack. And Jim, hardware troubles is something that we as sim racers have to deal with, and it does look like Kelsey Rogers is going to take it to the garage.
Yeah, that all kind of snowballed from that first off track. I think he got one of those time penalties from iRacing. The iRacing software will send out a time penalty to a driver to give up what it assumes is the time that was gained by cutting a corner. I think that's why he was so slow off the pace. Up, we got Greg Evans making a move here on AJ Digby. That's got to be for 3rd place, as the 2 of Greg Evans takes the 3rd place. Still a good ways back from Curling and Mullins, who are currently the top 2. Mullins cutting into Curling's lead in the number 10.
Yeah, I was just looking at that last time by. Mullins a fraction of a second faster than the number 10 of Curling. Curling up at the front now, about 3.5 seconds. This lap, I think Curling's going to have a pretty big time loss to Mullins. Mullins definitely looks like he's got picking up the wick just a little bit in that number 18 machine. We'll have to see what the times are like this time by at the stripe. And there is that War Turtle Racing number 10. We are now working lap number 11, and it will be lap number 12 next time by. So, will we see these drivers on pit road here shortly? We're going to have to wait and find out. Good news for these drivers, if they do come down pit road, they're going to get 4 new feel goods, and we have a tight battle now for the 5th position. Yazik all over the back bumper of Will Worsler, and in fact, Will Worsler caught up to the back of AJ Digby in the number 14 machine. So this could be a battle brewing for the 4th position, as Michael Whiting has now taken it to the garage in that machine. But this is a good battle here brewing, Greg, for a top 5 position.
Yeah, I've been kind of going back and forth here between the lead and this battle between the 29 and the 55, and I've been keeping an eye on Tyler Seville as well. Last week's winner, boy, Brian Yazik, climbing the curve there. Doesn't seem to slow him down. In fact, he got a good run on Worcester and had to check up there. as Worcester shut the door on him here, and this is going to allow Seville to pounce. This is a great three-car battle right here. Remember, we talked about Jacek a few laps ago being able to kind of gauge where he was better on the track than Will Worsler, and while he has finally been able to get up and make a move, what that did was allow Tyler Seville, who has finally gotten away from Woody Mahan after him and Mahan traded spots a few times. Jacek has now fallen into the clutches of Tyler Seville. Remember, last week's winner at Michigan, trying to go 2 in a row here, but has done a pretty solid job. Has the 11 of Tyler Seville kind of been hanging out around 7th or 8th the whole race. Traded it back and forth with Woody Mahan virtually the entire race. Now able to go to work on Jacek, who is still trying to put the pressure on Worsler. But boy, ever since Worsler shut the door entering the carousel, he's really been able to pull back away from Jacek, and now all that work that Jacek did, he has to do it all over again.
And I'm starting to see some drivers really start to struggle with their rear tires. Michael Whiting in the number 44 Brookside Equipment Sales machine, he spun it coming out of turn number 8A into the tire barrels. He has retired his car, and Jimmy McKee, he spun coming out of turn number 6, and the number 8 McKee Lawn Care Services machine also is going to be loading up onto the truck. He will be out of this race as well. So Jim, we kind of mentioned that keeping your tires underneath you very, very important, but as we continue on this run here and tires continue to get more and more slippery, well, I'm sure we'll start to see more and more of these drivers sliding around the racetrack.
Yeah, you definitely want to keep the tires on the pavement. That's where they have the most grip. On the dirt, they don't have that much grip. I do want to go back to the Jacek, Seville, and Will Worsler battle there. There were some quotes made, some things said after the race last week from the 55 of Jacek that the 29 had blocked and that the 11 won, and he was upset because he thought that he should have won the race. So what I'm wondering here, and we'll have to see if it plays out, is does the 55 lay the bumper to one of those guys here tonight as the 55 goes a little wide there? The 11 looks like he's going to get around fair and square. Maybe not quite clear. As we go by here, they are just battling this thing out. So I'm just wondering if the bumper is going to come out. We're going to have a little bit of bumper tag before this thing's over with. And we're at the end of a tire run here. You want to be the first car in your group. You want to be the lead car in that group coming to pit road. You don't want to get stuck behind somebody who slows down too much or spins out coming down to the pit road. You just want to be the front car, and you probably want to be the first car to make that pit stop. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out.
Absolutely. We got a couple of the sliced porcupines machines together. Will Worsler in 5th. And what about the number 11 of Seville taking advantage of that slip up by Brian Jacek to take the 6th position? In fact, I've been watching Seville. He's been pretty darn quick over these last few laps. I would think that number 11 machine saved his tires a little bit. And now he's starting to see the dividends of that tire savings, working his way up through the field. Started this race in 8th, now working around the racetrack in 6th. He does see Will Worsler in front of him, as well as AJ Digby. Digby definitely getting caught by the Slice Berkey Pints number 29 machine. And I know those two have a great relationship working together out there on the racetrack. But currently, AJ Digby not making any inroads on Greg Evans in the 3rd position. Doug Mullins still running around in his Slice Berkey Pints machine in 2nd. That battle for the race lead has kind of calmed down. Curling's put another 2nd on the number 18 of Mullins. It's now up to 4.5 seconds as they're starting to work their way through some lap traffic. Pete Baskins in the DMLC Racing Channel number 27 machine will go a lap down to your race leader this time by, and he's now right in front of Doug Mullins. So there you go. Pete Baskins already a lap down in that race car. And as these leaders start to navigate some lap traffic, that is going to be another thing that's going to be interesting to watch. Just how will the lap traffic behave? Will they let the leaders go? Or, Greg, do you think they're going to give them a hard time?
Still too early to really tell, Peter. They're still coming to the end of this first fuel run. Like Jim said, we're getting really close. We're actually at the mark now where if you were a 2-tire pit stop strategy, the window is now open for that. So it's still too early. I think we need to wait until this at least first cycle of pit stops is over before we really start seeing if guys start putting pressure on. I think everyone's kind of just been hanging back and learning the track for this first run. I think once this first cycle of pit stops, which guys, figure out and whether they're going to do two stops or one stop. I think after this first cycle is when you'll start seeing guys begin to push it a little bit more.
Yeah, we will have to see how it all works out here as Greg Evans in that number 2 machine continues to work his way around the racetrack. There he is coming out of turn number 6. Looking at the lap times, he's actually a little bit faster than Doug Mullins in front of him. Last time by about a full second faster than that number 18 machine, but Mullins was slowed just a little bit by the lap traffic. We'll have to see whether or not Evans can continue that charge towards the number 18 machine. Evans going to go around the number 43 of Richard Fletcher. Fletcher just going to let everyone by there. There's the number 84 of Woody Mahan working his way around the racetrack. Down in the 8th position right now. One spot behind where he started, but he's starting to make some ground in on his teammate, Brian Yazik, in the number 55 in front of him. Remember, Yazik had that big moment down in turn number 7 where he ran wide. We have one car off the racetrack. It's Richard Fletcher. Looks like Fletcher's going to come down pit road here in his slice. Porcupine's number 43 has a little bit of damage to fix on that race car. But it seems like a lot of these drivers right now kind of pacing themselves, Greg. You know, this is that point in the run. You guys have mentioned it. You just got to stay on the pavement. You know, if you can make some ground on the car in front of you, good. But you might not want to risk getting a lot of side-by-side action like what we saw with Tyler Seville and Brian Yazik, because that can lead to accidents.
And we're seeing quite a few cars out there with damage already as well. Several drivers already behind the wall, a couple new ones behind the wall. Jimmy McKee and Brad Lee have since retired from the race. So we're seeing some cars with some damage out there already, and several behind the wall. So I know these drivers are probably realizing that, hey, there's already been quite a few incidents. I don't want to be the next one. So I think we are starting to see guys really take it easy right now, especially with it being towards the end of the run, like we talked about, and really just kind of ride it out. And like you said, stay on the pavement. The top 5 or so have really done a good job of that. But when you get back to the guys like Yazik and Worsler, they've been kind of on a little bit of a roller coaster so far. So it's been interesting to see how these guys are handling this. And Woody Mahan putting pressure now on Brian Yazik for the 7th position here as they come up through the S section. Boy, one car off the track in front of them. That's 27, Pete Baskins. And remember, we just talked about him and letting people go and kind of going off the track. So you can kind of tell now the tires, Brian Yazik off in front of Woody Mahan, and you think now Brian Yazik's going to come down pit road. Yes, he is. But he came in pretty hot, Peter.
Yeah, see, they can actually go around the outside. Pit road starts right here at those yellow cones, so you can really push it on entry into pit road here, and I'm sure that's what Brian Yazik was thinking. He's pitting here with 29 laps to go. So he's just going to come down. He did make it to that 1/3 race distance. And there's Adam Tursky knocking down some cones on entry into turn number 11. There's the number 7, John Jenkins, your points leader coming into tonight. Remember, he had some early troubles. He qualified in 10th. Well, he's rebounded quite nicely. He is up to the 10th position after falling down to around the 15th position or so. Mark Cohn right in front of him in the number 39 machine. Got SimLab on the hood of that race car. He's inside the top 10. Mitch Brown was concerned about his connection prior to the race, having a little bit of internet troubles, but that number 51 machine now in the 8th position and not a scratch on it. Can't say that for a lot of race cars right now. Bright green on that machine. And Jim, green race cars, a lot of people say that there's bad luck surrounding green race cars, but Mitch Brown so far having some good luck with his connection issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Green cars, people say they're bad luck. I don't think that they're bad luck. I guess you could sort of say that the Menards truck that I race is kind of green. It's yellow, but it's kind of green, I guess. It's a neon yellowish green. But I'll tell you what, these guys, like Brian Yazik, I expected a much cleaner first stage of the race, first third of the race there. That was a uncharacteristically sloppy opening stage for Yazik as he was on the track, off the track, sliding around. Let's see if he can clean it up and maybe contend here for the win if he can keep it on the track the rest of the way. And with those fresh tires, make up some time on the leaders who are out there on old tires. And then we'll have to wait and see if the two-stop strategy, which apparently Yazek is on, I don't think there's any way he can go to the end on those tires. We'll see if that pays off, or if some of these guys try the one-stop strategy and just split the race in half. We're coming up on that point.
Quick before we continue with that, going back to the green race cars, I own one green shirt. It says this is my only green shirt. I wear it one day out of the year. It's on St. Patrick's Day. I do not like the color green anywhere near me right now when it comes to racing.
Well, the one thing I do like is the green flag, and of course no yellow flags here tonight. All 45 laps, are going to be run under green flag conditions. But guys, I really gotta say, up at the front, Nick Curling, Doug Mullins, and Greg Evans, it's starting to get a little bit closer. Look at that. Mullins has taken about a second and a half out of Curling's lead, but what about the number 2 machine? Greg Evans right now is turning absolute flyers. Look at that. Last time by, almost a full second faster than Doug Mullins. We'll have to see what it's like here at the line as Doug Mullins gets caught up behind lap traffic, the number 41 of Tim Knott. It's going to be even closer, even a bigger margin between those 2 lap times this time by. Look at that. Mullins a 1:43.3 to Evans's 1:41.7. That's 1.6 seconds. That's a huge difference around this racetrack. Evans, we've seen it all season long here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series that he is a master of saving tires on that number 2 car. And look at this. He's just eating into the number 18 machine as Will Worsler has come down pit road from the top 5. Now number 29 wanting some fresh tires. As I say that, Greg Evans just went off the racetrack up at her number 4. So he did lose a little bit of ground that time, but I gotta say, Evans, once again, saving his tires. And Greg, we've seen it all season long. He's won multiple races like that. He almost won last week at Michigan, but he ran out of fuel right there towards the end.
One of the best tire savers in the game right now in Greg Evans in that number 2, as he's trying to track back down Doug Mullins in the 18. Doug Mullins' car owner, Will Worsler, almost slid through his pit box. I was kind of watching him on pit road there. He barely was able to stop just in time to avoid having to back up. So good break there for Will Worsler. Unfortunately, when he locked up the tires to come to a stop, those tires were the ones that were coming off. So he's going to have 4 fresh Mr. Feel Goods. And after that little slide, sure, he's going to be happy to get them back on. But now we're getting to a point where, guys, I'm starting to wonder when we're going to start seeing guys on pit road, because we've only seen a couple of guys so far go with what we're calling the 2-stop strategy here, and it doesn't look like anyone else in the top 5 really has any intention of coming in anytime soon, as Tyler Seville going past pit road right now. Last week's winner at Michigan, which was, of course, the result of Greg Evans running out of fuel late in the going. Some may say that Seville was helped out by his teammate, and we know how Brian Yazek feels about it, but Seville showing that he's backing it up right now. Started 8th, up to 4th now in the number 11. Good effort for Seville so far. Keep my eye on him as a big mover thus far, up 4 positions.
I'm very much keeping my eye on this battle right now. Mark Cohn right in front of John Jenkins. Jenkins ran down that number 39 machine. That would be a battle right now for the 8th position. Not all too far behind him, though, is the number 55 of Brian Yazek. He is on those fresh tires in that number 55 HVPsimulation.com machine. We'll have to see how much ground he has gained up. He's currently 47 seconds behind your race leaders, but he is turning quite a bit faster laps than your race leaders. Last time by, the 55 of Yazek was 3 seconds faster than Curling's number 10 machine. We know both of those cars will have to come down pit road at least one more time. Curling, I think, is playing that one-stop strategy, and Jim, I'm a bit surprised by that, but we've seen Curling have a fantastic race so far, keeping it on the black stuff.
Yeah, he has been clean and green. Not in a green car, though. But he's been clean and green out there and quite fast in that number 10. It seems that when Mullins closes in, then Curling just picks it up another step and then pulls away, and then Mullins pulls back in, and we're talking getting to maybe 3 seconds behind, and then Curling steps it up again. So I'll tell you what, the guy that I'm watching right now is the 55 of Brian Yazek, though. He is turning some really fast laps. If he does not have to pit again, He will likely be the leader when the guys in front of him come down pit road, as he's made up quite a bit of time. That should get him in good position to take over the race lead. Don't know how that's going to do. The speed of those tires being a little bit more used up.
Oh no!
The new tires we'll have to wait and see, as we're going to see pit stops here pretty soon.
Sorry to interrupt there, Jim, but we just had a big moment for one of your top contenders here tonight. Will Warsler in the number 29 machine coming out of turn number 10, looped it around. There's a lot of front end damage to that number 29 machine. We'll have to see if we can see what happened there. You see him nosing it into the tire barrier, just trying to make up a little bit too much time on those fresh tires. Remember, he was just on pit road a few laps ago. Let's see if we can catch this one in its entirety. Come around the corner right behind one of the slower cars, and that car, you can see it just kind of bobble a little bit. Those rear tires coming up off of the racetrack just lost enough grip for that number 29 Slice Porcupine's machine to go around, and unfortunately for Will Warsler, he will have to suffer with that damage for the remainder of the races. I do believe he has made his one and only pit stop. We'll have to see if this will change his strategy, but he is still in the 11th position, didn't lose a spot in that accident. Troy Haight in the War Turtle Racing number 28, back behind him in 12th, but that's definitely going to damage the number 29's race and his car, as we got leaders coming down pit road. The number 18 of Mullins leading, the number 2 of Greg Evans, and the number 10 of Nick Curling right there in front of him. Now this isn't quite to the halfway distance here, Greg. There's still 25 laps to go. Do you think these drivers can't even make it on one stop? Is that why they're coming down pit road now?
That could be, Peter. We're right around halfway, not too far away, but I'm wondering if these guys stretched out as far as they possibly could. So Nick Curling coming off pit road to head back out, as there go Mullins and Evans right there. So that could be what's going on here. These guys may have tried to go the whole distance to go one stop. They might have just not made it. They're not sure what a fuel run at this track would be under this new configuration, so that could very well be what happened there, Peter.
Yeah, very interesting to see. We are just about 2 laps away from the halfway distance in tonight's War Turtle Racing Wine Country Grand Prix at Sonoma. Will any of these drivers elect to just go a couple of laps longer? We'll have to wait and find out. I'm really curious to know why these drivers, if they can't make it on one stop, why they went so long in that first run. Maybe they just wanted to get down pit road as soon as their window opened. But personally, as a race car driver, I run lots of road courses. You want to maximize the freshness of your tires, and they won't be able to maximize the freshness of their tires if they have to pit with only 4 laps to go. They'll have 4 laps of really, really fresh tires, but you think about all of those laps that they had really, really, really old tires, it just doesn't seem to work out. We'll have to wait and see. I could be completely wrong. They could be good to the end from here, but definitely stopping a little bit before the halfway mark is a little interesting. The number 14 of AJ Dickey, he's going to come down pit road here, as there'll be 23 laps to go. 22 laps in the rear. It will be halfway this time by. So Tyler Seville in the number 11 Slice Porcupine's machine, he's made it to the halfway mark. And remember, guys, last week at Michigan International Raceway, that number 11 machine, he saved a ton of fuel to make it to the end of that race to take the checkered flag. And Jim, perhaps Tyler Seville once again on a fuel strategy as the number 72 of Michael Krobach. Jim, is that one of the turns that you mentioned earlier that you took and your GPS couldn't route you?
Well, let me tell you, GPS and I just don't get along. It has had me turning left into. We just don't get along, and I think that that is so. You know, as a matter of fact, Michael Krobach and Brian Yazik, Steve Buhala, and myself all went to Eldora a couple years ago, and the GPS was telling us to turn left, and there was a lake to our left. So, yeah, we just don't have good luck with that. So I do want to talk about one thing with Tyler Seville. You just mentioned how he saved fuel last week. He had an excellent strategy. He pitted at the right time. He saved just enough to get to the end and won that race fair and square. And I don't want to take that away from him. I was just bringing up what was said in the post-race last week. So I don't want to take anything away from Tyler. He definitely earned a great win at Michigan, and what a race that was to watch.
Yeah, it was really impressive because he made it about 2 laps longer than a lot of the other cars out there on the racetrack. In fact, Seville, though, he's going to go another lap here. It's Mitch Brown in the number 51 machine. He's going to head down pit road. He made it to the halfway mark, as did Woody Mahan there in the number 84. So we have now gotten into the second half of tonight's War Turtle Racing Wine Country Grand Prix, and I'll tell you what, Greg, it's been a really interesting first half of the race, and I'm curious to know how this second half is going to go. Will we see any of these cars run out like we saw last week at Michigan?
We could see it, Peter. We're getting close to that level. I'm curious what Tyler Seville has up his sleeve here. He's going to have to pit real soon because Nick Curling's right on him, and there goes Tyler Seville. That pretty much right there seals it. He's going to have to pit this time as he shoots off in the carousel. Carousel kind of came unglued there for him. Here comes Nick Curling. I actually thought the car behind him was Nick Curling. That was James Lorello in a matching paint scheme, but Nick Curling just took the lead back. And guys, Tyler Seville just lost the lead. He still hasn't even pitted, and race leader Nick Curling has pitted. So that one pretty much just forced Tyler Seville's hand right there. He's going to have to pit this time, I believe.
Yeah, that number 11 will come down pit road, I'm sure. And that's not the first time we have seen turn number 6, the carousel, like you mentioned, cause havoc for drivers here tonight. I mean, we've seen it catch out Greg Evans in the number 2 machine. Oh, Jason Stewart in the number 1 machine, heavy into the tire barrier coming out of turn number 8A. He's trying to get that machine righted back towards turn number 9. Let's see what happened here. That number 1 machine, here he goes. This right-hander, turn number 8A, it just broke away from him, just couldn't quite catch it, and bam, into the tire wall. Definitely missing a front hood right now, and here comes Tyler Seville, just like you mentioned, Greg. Down pit road, 45 miles an hour is the pit road speed, and he will be looking for his pit box. Definitely not what Seville was looking for. Now, the good news is he's made it past halfway, so he'll have 4 fresh tires to go the distance from here, but that man right there, Nick Curling, currently race leader, Greg.
Well, his teammate is off the track right in front of him. James Lorello, look out. The 2 War Turtle cars kind of coming together there. Boy, do you think they were in communication there with each other, with Lorello letting Nick know, hey, I'm off the track. I'm right in front of you. Be careful. As I was watching them, and again, I almost got the paint schemes mixed up, but I realized it was Lorello right before he went off the track. But that's got to be a little bit nerve-wracking for you, Peter, when not only you're in the lead and the car goes off the track in front of you, it's your teammate of all things.
I'll tell you what, I did some practice earlier for the 24 Hours of Law as we see the 02 of Sam Crow come down pit road. Looks like the 17 of Stallings also coming down pit road. Excuse me, that's the number 5 of Sam Crow. He recently changed his number on that race car. Looks like he is in his pit box as we speak. But I was doing some practice for the 24 Hours of Law that I'm running this week with a group of buddies, and there was a GT car right in front of me, just spun in a corner where I absolutely couldn't do anything about it. I sent him up into the stratosphere in that race car. Sometimes you just spin and there's nowhere for you to go if a car in front of you spins, and we have seen that here tonight on lap number 1 in turn number 2. But I want to keep an eye on this battle between Curling, Mullins, and Greg Evans, because there's only 4.4 seconds between the top 3. And remember, Evans had to pick up a huge amount of time after he had a huge moment in turn number 6. And I do believe that's the number 3 of Lorello having more issues. There he is. Thought for a split second that might have been your race leader, Nick Curling, but Curling's still on the racetrack as we go on board with your 3rd place machine, the number 2 of Greg Evans, looking to get another checkered flag to his name. He's won a lot of races so far this season in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, and currently up into 2nd in points, looking for his 7th win on the championship. I'll tell you what, Jim, I'm sure a lot of the field here tonight were expecting, oh, maybe we'll get another winner, someone other than Greg Evans, but here he is battling for the 2nd position.
Yeah, he's had one of those nice clean races too, and he's run a really smart race. He's kept his car for the most part on the blacktop. There's a couple times that it goes over the curbing and clips the dirt, but the 2 car has been pretty pretty smooth out there. It should definitely, well, I think he'll get the 18 car here in the next lap or so. It looks like they've had a really good battle. They're trying. I think the 2 car's going to shoot down below him here into the final corner. There he is, and the 2 car takes second place.
2 for 2 right there for Greg Evans. The second spot for the 2 machine as he works his way through turn number 12 to the start-finish line. Now, with 19 laps to go, plenty of time to close in on the I cannot speak. The War Turtle Racing number 10 of Nick Curling right up there at the front.
I'll tell you, for a team that has a mascot that is a turtle, they sure are fast tonight here at Sonoma.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, that number 10 machine, Jay Crable was in the chat a little bit ago, and he said that he can confirm Nick Curling spent more time getting that number 10 machine ready for this race than he has any other race all season long, and it's showing, leading pretty much every lap here, but a few laps there during that pit sequence. But he does have a hard charging number 2 about 5 seconds in the rear, trying to close in on him here as these laps continue to wind down. But Greg, there's some other pretty good battles out there on the racetrack. I'm watching the battle now brewing for the 5th position as AJ Digby starting to close in on the battle damaged number 29 of Will Worsler, and Brian Yazik in the number 55. He's got some older tires than some of these cars around him, so he's losing ground. This could be a good battle for the 4th position here, brewing pretty quickly.
Yeah, Yazik was able to get up to the 4th position, but like you mentioned, those older tires were coming into play right there. And I gotta think, going back to what happened with the circumstances on Yazik's pit, I don't think that was his intention to pit that particular lap, but with him going off track right in the perfect spot to be able to line up with pit road, and the tires probably being used up by the pucker brush out there, I think that was a good move by Yazik to pit there, and it kind of forced his hand a little bit. But yeah, AJ Digby is really beginning to close in on Will Worsler, not only with the battle damage on the 29, he's also stuck in some pretty heavy lap traffic right now. Jason Stewart and I believe the 19 of Cody Spiker, as well as Worsler's able to get around one of them, the one of Stewart, who's missing a hood right now, and is trying to get up on Spiker as Digby begins to close in as well. So multiple factors at play there, Peter.
Yeah, interesting to see some different tire strategies. In fact, let's see if we can bring up the laps since last pit for you on the left-hand side of the screen, because you can see quite a few different numbers there. You have Tyler Seville. It's only been 3 laps since he was on pit road, but drivers like Brian Yazik currently in the 4th position, it's been 11 laps since he came down at 45 miles an hour to his pit crew. And if Yazik's on that 2-stop strategy, I expect to see Yazik on pit road here shortly in the next 3 to 4 laps to come down and get his second set of Goodyear tires. We'll have to wait and see whether or not that holds true. Don't think he can go to the end on fuel from here, but it's also going to be interesting to see if your leaders can make it to the finish on fuel, as they pitted just before the halfway mark. And there you see this battle for the 5th position brewing. AJ Digby wants it from the number 29, Will Worsler, coming out of turn number 7 into the S's, turn number 8, all the way into turn number 8A, which is this long right-hander. Get the car settled into turn number 9, kind of ride over the curbing if you can on the left side to open up entry into turn number 10. And you see the number 14 using as much curb as possible, because he didn't want to do that. And as the number 29 Will Worsler just ran a little bit wide there coming through turn number 10, and we'll give up that 5th position to AJ Digby. Digby back into the top 5. He is about 8 seconds behind the number 55 of Brian Yazik for the 4th position. Remember, Yazik pitted very early and used up those tires as much as he can, turning qualifying lap times in that HPPsimulation.com machine, because he knows he's going to come back down pit road and get some fresh tires. And Jim, that's probably a pretty comforting thought in the back of that number 55 machine right now. He knows he's just a few laps away from coming down and getting some new fresh tires, and he'll be back out there on the racetrack turning the fastest lap times.
Yeah, the downside to that is that he's 22 seconds off the lead, and he is going to be pretty close to going 1 lap down when he makes that pit stop. if the 10 and the 2 don't come down pit road, his night is pretty much over. He's out of contention. I do want to look at a couple of the trends of the race as we get ready to enter the final stage. It's been 5 years since ASRS has raced here at Sonoma Raceway, so we don't have really a good notebook. We've never raced on this configuration, so not a notebook that you want to use here. But looking back at last year's Watkins Glen race, there were no cautions in the last 50 laps of the race, and I guarantee we're gonna run caution free to the end here tonight.
Okay, Larry Mack, with your trends of the race, I'll tell you what, no cautions here tonight. That's a setting on the racetrack. There's no cautions to be thrown, and it definitely sets the tone for these long races, kind of like an endurance race. Got to keep them on the flat stuff. You got to hit your marks lap after lap, minimize your mistakes, minimize the damage, and if you can do so, you can come away with a pretty solid finish. I know some of these drivers will be very happy with where they finished. Even some of the drivers probably just inside the top 15 will probably be like, I'm glad I am done turning left and right. Meanwhile, some of the other drivers up towards the front, they'll be disappointed if they don't come away with a checkered flag. It really is a polarizing event coming to a road course. You got your road course ringers, and then you got your drivers who don't enjoy it. And there you see Doug Mullins going off the racetrack just a little bit, coming out of turn number 6. Looks like he's going to get it back going nice and neatly into turn number 7. And Greg, what about you? Are you a road course driver or not?
Refer to the South Sound Speedway series broadcast for that answer. But
I'll give you a little bit of a hint for those of you who didn't watch it. It didn't go all too well, but you know, whether or not you're good at them, do you enjoy racing them, or is it just like, nope?
I don't mind driving the road course, actually. I mean, as long as I'm not in a competitive mindset and I can just kind of focus on trying to get better, it's actually kind of fun to drive a road course as a change-up, because most of the driving I've done on the iRacing server has been on the short track side, short ovals like Oxford, South Boston, Lanier, those tracks. That's been the majority of the starts that I've made on the iRacing server in various cars. And I've only made a couple of starts on the road course. Pretty much all have been at the Charlotte Roval, with the exception of a couple of Japanese road courses that the MX5, the Global MX5 Cup, goes to in the rookie series there. So my road course experience driving-wise is very limited, but if I'm not in a competitive format where I'm actually trying to do good and I'm kind of just trying to learn the track, kind of hang out and figure out what to do, what not to do, it's actually really fun as a change-up to drive on some of these road courses. So, I mean, as a driver, not my favorite things to do on the schedule, but as just a guy who likes to go out and turn laps, road course is pretty fun once in a while.
Absolutely. The top 15 now, the only cars left on the lead lap. Last car on the lead lap is the number 53 of John Broussard. He's not all too far in front of Nick Curling in the number 10 machine. And he will be the next car to fall one lap down. Adam Jersky and the Beef Jersky's Cheesecake. I don't think we found out what cheesecake he's making here tonight. So let us know in the chat what Adam Jersky's making here tonight. Troy Haight in the number 28 machine. He's also inside the top 15. There's that Beef Jersky's machine. And there is the 84 Woody Mahan. And I've been watching Mahan here because he's one of those drivers who pitted a little bit later than some of the people in front of him. He's actually closed in on the number 29 of Will Warser, who pitted 5 laps prior to this 84 machine. This is a battle for the 6th position, and I'm sure we'll see the number 55 of Brian Yazik on pit road shortly. He continues to circulate around the racetrack, coming out of the final corner right now. And I tell you what, Jim, I'm a little bit surprised we haven't seen Yazik back on pit road in that number 55 machine. I kind of expected him to use that to his advantage, but definitely staying on the same strategy, at least for now, as most of your leaders, that one stopper. We'll have to see whether or not the second stop comes into effect, but that is a good battle right behind him. Will Warster and Woody Mahan for 6, Jim.
I think maybe Yazik has enough fuel to go to the end, or maybe he just needs to save a little bit. I want to go back to the point about road courses that you and Greg were just talking about. When I go to the road courses myself, we go not to win the race. We go to just have a clean race. 0 incidents, of course, is the goal. Keep your car on the track, Stay out of the wreck, or wrecks for that matter. There's usually one or two. And just bring the car home in one piece with a solid finish. Probably a top 10 would be really good. So that's what we do whenever we go to it. We don't go to the road courses to win. We know that we're outclassed at those races. We go to get the maximum amount of points. And speaking of road courses, if you like road courses, the Surf Pro Grand National Series has Road America up in 2 weeks from tomorrow night. And then Watkins Glen coming up here pretty shortly as well. And then in the playoffs this season, the Charlotte Roval will be the final road course.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the Glen. I'm sure a lot of these drivers are as well. The Glen is, of course, a lot less technical of a road course than is Sonoma. And that's why a lot of people drive it. A lot of people who don't often drive the road courses get to go to the Glen. They enjoy it because it's fast, it's flowing. I believe it has been dubbed the super speedway of road courses, and it usually lends itself to a fantastic race. So I'm very much looking forward to that when we go there in just a month or so from now in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. But we do have 13 laps to go in the War Turtle Racing Wine Country Grand Prix, Sonoma Raceway out in Napa Valley. And we're watching this battle still for the 6th position. And keep an eye on the man who's just on the right side of your screen, the number 11 of Tyler Seville. He's closed back in on this battle, so make it a 3-car battle for 6th right now. Up in front of Will Worcester is AJ Digby. He's put about 5 seconds on this battle. Here comes Woody Mahan to the inside of turn number 5. Had to back out of it. We'll have to see if Mahan can get a run here through the carousel. Turn number 6, this long left-hander. Woody Mahan, if he's smart here, he'll back up his corner a little bit, just wait to get back on the throttle. Looks like he might have gotten a little bit too close to the back bumper of the number 29 machine of Worcester there, and sometimes that works to your disadvantage. Of course, you want to stay as close to the car in front of you as possible, but if you're too close, you just have no room to get that run up off the corner, get that running start, so to speak, to pull alongside with the car in front of you. So it's a little bit of gamesmanship when you come to these road courses, and we'll have to see if Mahan can learn from that instance, and maybe next lap he can make a move there in turn number 6, but worked his way down through the S's, lost a little bit of time. Now I'm sure he'll be looking at his mirror. And Greg, as a race car driver, sometimes when you're racing a car in front of you, you're fast and doing great, but as soon as you get a car in your rearview mirror, all of a sudden you start to watch that mirror, you start to make those mistakes. It's a mental game, race car driving.
Especially on a road course, Peter. We talked about earlier, talking about certain areas of the track that someone is better than someone else. And when you get into that kind of mindset that, oh, this guy's better than me here, but I'm better than me here, if they are coming up on you in your mirror, that opens the door for you to make a bigger mistake, because you know that they are better than you in this spot, and you know that's going to be their opportunity to make a pass. You go a little bit harder into that section of track to try to keep them at bay and go on defense, and that could lead to a bigger mistake. So really, road course is about the closest thing to a game of chess that you can get, besides, of course, the restrictor plate tracks, which we all know Tony Stewart's feelings on that high-speed chess game and how he thinks he's only smart enough to play checkers. But entirely different story here on a road course. It's a thinking man's race course, if you really want to go there, Peter.
Absolutely. One driver who is not out on the racetrack here tonight, as we continue to watch this battle between Woody Mahan and Will Worcester and Tyler Seville there, but one driver who's not on the racetrack here tonight is the number 6 of Jared Haggerty. He's serving a suspension here tonight, and Jim, that's a couple suspensions here in the last month or so for Haggerty. That's, of course, a product of the strike system that's in effect here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. Why don't you talk us through that strike system as we watch this battle for the 6th position in the background?
Absolutely. So the strike system that we have, which is basically turned off tonight because there's no cautions, is if you are the cause of an incident that triggers a caution, you're issued a strike. You get 2 strikes that you can have over the course of 4 races. So at any 4 race period, you can only have 2 strikes. The first strike, nothing else happens. The second strike, you sit out a week. And what it's done is it's tamed down some of the crazy driving that we've seen on the track. There were some guys that came in, they'd run a couple races, wreck half the field and pretty much be run off by the end of it. But there was no penalty system to get rid of the driver. They just left because they felt that nobody wanted to race them, or somebody said something to them. Well, now there's a penalty system. Just like if you wreck your car 2 weeks in a row, you don't have a car to race. You got to work on it. So with sim racing, you don't have to work on the car every week. With the strike rule, it gives you that little bit of fear there, that working on the car and having to repair the car, rebuild the car, and running out of car parts to do it. So that's really the whole point. Oh, we see the 29 go off the track. Woody Mahan takes that spot. Tyler Seville right behind follows suit. And I think Mitch Brown's going to get them both. And Tyler Seville by Woody Mahan in the 84.
Yeah, that was not a good moment there for Will Worcester. Got this run coming out of turn number 6 into turn number 7. Did the number 84 Mahan. He was showing his nose to the number 29 of Will Worcester. That goes back to those mind games that we were just talking about a little while ago. And Will Worcester just missed his braking point into turn number 7, ran up off the racetrack, and that allowed both the 84 and the 11 to get by. And then the 84 had a little bit of a hiccup. He couldn't get the power down in time, and he's going to lose that spot to Tyler Seville. So Seville, just like that, 2 spots in a single lap. He's now up into the 6th spot, trying to run down AJ Digby in the number 14. Digby still trying to run down Brian Yazik in the number 55. Yazik using that early pit stop strategy. Still 10 laps to go, but so far it's working out pretty good for the HPPSimulation.com Ford Mustang as he works his way into the carousel. A long gap between Brian Yazik and Doug Mullins in the number 18. Up at the front, Curling still holding on to a 5-second advantage over Greg Evans. That gap up to the front, though, is staying pretty constant. Curling 0.3 of a second slower last lap. We'll have to see if that changes this time by. In fact, it looks like Evans had a pretty good lap this lap, but I do believe Curling has been dealing with some slower lap traffic, which has hurt his lead. There you see Adam Jersky in the number 69 machine. He will fall 1 lap down. Now we only have 14 cars on the lead lap, with the next car to go a lap down right in front of Curling. That would be the number 53 of John Broussard. Haven't really mentioned his name all too much here tonight, but it's been a good night for John Broussard. He has a little bit of damage on that number 53 machine, but it doesn't look like he's had any major accidents in that machine, and so far so good for him. He did qualify in 17th, now running in 14th in that race car. Right in front of him, though, is Troy Hayes, so there is the possibility for him to gain a spot. There we see the number 11, Tyler Seville, trying to pull away from the 84 of Mahan, unable to do so just yet. Seville has some of the freshest tires inside the top 10. We'll have to see whether or not he can use them to close in on AJ Digby in front of him. Last time by, looks like Seville ran a 142.35, AJ Digby in front of him at 143.68, so about 1.3 seconds kind of taken out of that gap last time by. So that'll be interesting to see if that shrinks down to a battle as these laps continue to wind down. Just 9 more laps to go here, Greg.
Closing stages of this one, Peter, and we're keeping our eyes also on the race leaders, because remember, they are right on the bubble of being able to make it to the end. They need about 2 more laps than what they got that first run to be able to make it to the end here. So we're keeping our eyes on the leaders as well in that situation. But boy, Nick Curling, you can tell all the amount of practice that he put in has been very, very, very much paying off right now, as he has led just about every lap. The only laps he didn't lead were laps that he was on pit road in the cycle, which Tyler Seville led. So it'll be interesting to see if he can finish it off here. And with a 2.4 second lead right now, but some traffic between himself and second place Greg Evans. Evans is closing, but he's in traffic right now. Does Nick Curling have enough of a cushion right this second to start saving, or does he have to go a little bit more to try to make it to a spot that he can begin to save comfortably?
No, but traffic was not a help for Nick Curling. He lost about 2 seconds as we have a battle now brewing for the 8th position. Who was that? having a little bit of contact there with Mitch Brown. That was one of the lapped cars. I do believe that was the 76 of John Gallagher. We'll have to see what happened there, but 3 wide coming through turn number 11 is never a good sign. You see the 76 of Gallagher lock it up. 51 of Brown to the outside, 29 of Warser to the inside, and they definitely made contact between those two. And Mitch Brown, I was mentioning it just a while ago, he didn't have a single scratch on that race car. Well, now he does. Still trying to get that 8th position here, coming out of turn number 4A into turn number 5 here. Trying to get that power down. There is a decent number of laps difference on these tires. Mitch Brown, 5 lap fresher tires, might have given him a little bit of a bamper there. A little bit of a bampity bamp with the front bumper. And here comes Mitch Brown underneath the 29 of Warser, trying to take that spot as Warser continues to slide back through the field after getting damage, spinning at turn number 10. Brown trying to use the outside. Remember, this is where Warser ran wide a couple laps ago. Brown now way out there, and there's just no grip out there. You saw Brown just lose a ton of time to the number 29 machine, but I'm sure he'll be able to use those slightly fresher tires to his advantage here going through the S's. But one thing I want to turn your attention to, guys, is that the number 55 of Yazik is still out there on the racetrack. He has about a 5-second advantage over AJ Digby in the number 14 machine. And I think the biggest indicator of whether or not the top 5 will be able to make it to the end on fuel is just how far can this 55 HPPsimulations.com Ford Mustang go on fuel. And Jim, we'll find out if he runs out. And I think that will kind of give us a gauge on whether or not our leaders will be able to make it to the end.
Yeah, I think the leaders are safe. I think they came in knowing that they were in the window. I think 55 might be a little bit early, but I believe that kind of knowing the strategy that that team has used, and my team using their same strategy, we have a lot of the same engineers behind us. I don't think that they would pit early for no other reason. As long as they were in their window, he would come in. So I think they're going to be good to go. I will tell you what, Greg Evans had a little hiccup there with some lap traffic. The 53 of John Bouchard got sideways down there in the final corner, right in front of Greg Evans. There's a 51 and the 29 going at it again. And Greg Evans lost about a second and a half to Nick Curling there. They are still pumping and banging down the straightaway. That's the drag strip here at Sonoma Raceway. And now they go in side by side right here.
They're still leaning on one another there through turn number 7. And Brown's not going to give 29 any space, and Will Warser's not going to give Mitch Brown any space. But I got to say, Will Warser had to back out of that one, or else that was going to be a big wreck there, working their way down through the S's. Now into turn number 10, this right-hander, very, very fast turn number 10. This is where Will Warser had his big moment earlier, and you see Mitch Brown also kind of hanging it out in the Patriot Media and Marketing Services Toyota Camry. He's also got Checker Flag PC on the hood, but I'll tell you what, Will Warser in that number 29 slice Porcupine's machine starting to slide back, and here comes your Hacksaw PC's Premier Series points leader, John Jenkins, trying to take the 9th position away from that number 29 machine. So Jenkins still mounting a recovery. Remember, he got involved in an accident on lap number 1. That's pretty much where all the damage on that number 7 machine came from. Lap 1, turn number 2 in that Toyota Camry. But a good 9th place run here would definitely be good for him if he can get around this number 29 right in front of him, Greg.
Yeah, definitely a good recovery for Mitch Brown in the 51 as well. It's a bounce back here, but going back to what you were talking about with Jenkins and Warser, great recovery for Jenkins in the number 7 as he gets a good move there on Will Warser to get the run in on the carousel. Warser's going to come back and put some pressure on, looking for perhaps a crossover. We don't see too many of those on the road course, but we're seeing it right now, but he backs out and John Jenkins gets the spot. Either way, it's been an outstanding performance from John Jenkins to rally back after the incident early on in this one as he's trying to hold on to the points lead. But with Greg Evans running in second, Evans is going to close the gap even more. But guys, Greg Evans has lost quite a bit of ground to Nick Curling over the last few laps while we've been watching this. The gap has gone from 2.4 seconds to back up to 4.8 seconds right now. So Nick Curling in the 10 is driving away here in the closing stages of this one.
Last time by, though, Greg Evans, you see it at the bottom of the screen, a little bit faster than the number 10 machine. He's just running out of laps. The laps are against him here, as we now just have about 4.5 to go, working his way through turn number 6. Now onto the drag strip, where we saw that beating and banging just a few laps ago, into turn number 7 up ahead. Here's Doug Mullins in the number 18 machine. He's trying to close in on the number 2 of Greg Evans, unable to do so. There's about 6 seconds between the number 2 and the 18. Mullins trying to work his way through some of the lap traffic there, getting around Adam Jersky. He does have Troy Haight in the number 28 War Turtle Racing machine right in front of him as they work their way through the S's. And I've just been so impressed here tonight with the top 5 and how they've run. I mean, we've seen a little bit of adversity with Greg Evans running off the track in turn number 6. We've seen Yazik on a completely different strategy. He's hanging on for dear life on those old tires. He's actually been out there right now for 25 laps this time by since he was first on pit road, and he's still turning pretty respectable lap times. Last time by, Yazik was only about a second slower than your current race leader, as he has a big moment there coming through turn number 8A into turn 9. Yazik definitely sawing at the wheel here, so I said he's done a good job of keeping it on the racetrack with that alternate strategy, but definitely those old tires starting to show their age. And I know, Jim, that's kind of a snowball effect sometimes, because you can overheat the tires so easily on old tires that you can just kind of compound the loss of grip.
Yeah, and you really find that loss of grip going into the corner and then accelerating out of the corner. You can pretty much hobble your way into the corner on old tires, but we're talking about when you accelerate out of the corner, you just have no power to get to the ground. It's sliding. You have zero grip, and that's, I think, what Yazik is dealing with right now. He's on much older tires than everybody around him. Not really sure about that strategy. I know I was kind of a fan of it earlier, but without making the second stop, not so much a fan at the moment. Do want to touch base on the 50 car, Christopher Bouchard. We saw him in that lap 1 incident. He is still on the track. I believe he's now 2 laps down, currently in the 26th position. We saw him in a few of those shots there, battling with the lead lap cars. And just a rough night there. This is kind of his part of the country, and not having the best of times here at the Sonoma Raceway tonight.
Yeah, well, he also had that connection issue, and I think he lost about a lap and a half on pit road with that connection issue before he was able to get back in the server. So Bouchard really facing an uphill battle all night long. He's got himself up into 26, and he actually just made a pass on Ed Bray for the 25th position. And Cody Spiker in the number 19, though, I believe is a little bit out of reach for the number 50. But here's a good battle starting to brew out there on the racetrack. The number 7 of John Jenkins has closed in on the back bumper of the number 51 of Mitch Brown. This is a battle for the 8th position. So Jenkins right here towards the end of the race starting to show some might in that race car. And right in front of them, Tyler Seville in the number 11. Looks like he's eaten up most of his stuff. He might have had a moment here, folks, because the last time by he was about 11 seconds off the pace. We'll see if he picks it up this lap. Indeed he does. But Seville must have had a moment in that number 11 Slice Porcupines machine that we missed here on the camera. But that is 7th, 8th, and we're riding on board with the 9th place machine. And Jenkins gets a good run here coming out of turn number 2, all up on the back bumper of the number 15. I'll tell you what, he can smell blood, Greg.
He most definitely can, Peter. He is coming in a hurry, trying to get up on the 51 of Mitch Brown, trying to get as many spots as he can, trying to hang on to that points lead, trying to get around Mitch Brown in the 9th position right now. Look at the move he pulls, trying to get around him there, looking high, looking low, and faked out Mitch Brown, and off he goes. And just like that, John Jenkins gets the 8th position.
I'm sure Mitch Brown is cursing inside his helmet right now. Just a small mistake. We've seen that out of a couple drivers tonight. We saw that out of Michael Krobach, a man who historically doesn't make mistakes. And that number 51 machine also just having a small moment here, working his way through the carousel. It must be pretty easy to have that issue. I mean, we saw it happen to the number 2 of Greg Evans when he lost a ton of time. Speaking of Greg Evans, though, folks, he's close back in on Nick Curling. We have 2 laps to go, and there's only 2 seconds between the top 2. Where did this man come from? Got shirt tape on the hood, and look at that time difference there. Curling must have been struggling with lap traffic. There's another car off in turn number 6 ahead. We might get a quick peek of it. No, there you go. That was the number 76 machine of John Gallagher. He's had a rough night in that race. I'm sure he's just happy to see the checkered flag fly. But up at the front, this is starting to be a battle, and Curling's ran wide in turn number 7, and that's going to allow Evans to close in just a little bit more. Oh, the Evans gets loose there coming out of turn number 7. Tried to get the power down just a smidgen too early, and you can see that just hurt the number 2 machine all the way down through the S's, just losing a little bit of ground to the number 10 of Curling. That might just seal the deal for the number 10 machine, as we will have the white flag this time by. This endurance race is pretty much come to an end, but could there be last lap fireworks? We'll have to wait and see as they work their way in through turn number 11 and off into turn number 12. This kink right here on the front stretch, and the white flag will be in the air for that man right there, Nick Curling. Not a scratch on that race car. And Jim, I gotta say, that is definitely one of the ways to win these road courses, and so far, fingers crossed for the number 10 machine, he will get to victory lane with a clean race car.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, the last guy that I'd want to have in my mirror is Greg Evans on the last lap closing in. He closed in a little bit, not enough that it'll be enough when they get back to the line unless something happens. But if you're Nick Curling, you have to have a mistake-free lap here. You can't make any mistakes. You have to hit your marks and just have almost a perfect lap within reason. Make sure that you stay within the means of the car. The tires are starting to wear, it's losing grip, and we see the 2 car gaining on the number 10 like crazy right now. This could be one of those battles back to the finish line. I know what I would do going into the last corner if I could get there. How about you guys?
Are you insinuating perhaps a bump and run if Greg Evans can get?
Well, absolutely.
Robbins racing, right?
Yeah, but Curling looking strong here through the S's. Down the hill for the final time, and he is pulling a little bit of a gap on Greg Evans as they come through here into the final sweep before the hairpin. Peter, it's been an outstanding performance from Nick Curling today.
Yeah, he put that number 10 machine on the pole, now working his way through turn number 11. Evans sent it into turn number 11, unable to do anything about it because Nick Curling coming out of the final corner. This little left bend, the number 10 War Turtle Racing machine goes to victory lane in the War Turtle Racing Wine Country Grand Prix. What a spectacular race from the pole in that car. Greg Evans coming home second. Here comes Doug Mullins. He will complete your podium here tonight in the Sliced Porcupines machine. Right here as he goes across the start-finish line, Brian Yazik is quite a ways back in the number 55 machine. He's just going into the final corner. What a interesting night it has been for this man right here. He was down at around the 8th position when he came down pit road a little bit early. Used that track position to his advantage. He will walk away with a top 5, a solid 4th place finish for Yazik. AJ Digby now, he's going to come around. He's going to get his first top 5 here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. I'm sure he's super stoked to come across the start-finish line. He's wagging his tail coming across the stripe to finish in 5th. Woody Mahan 6th. Tyler Seville comes home 7th. And John Jenkins with that rebound coming across the line in 8th, right behind Seville. Wasn't too much separation between those two. Mitch Brown, Will Worsler will round out your top 10. Mark Cohn, the only other car to finish on the lead lap. And Greg, pretty interesting night, but pretty dominating for the number 10 of Curling.
And practice pays off. Nick Curling, they talked about it earlier in the race. His teammates said he has put in more prep for this one than any other race, and it showed. Outstanding effort tonight from the number 10 of Nick Curling. And getting it done on the road course, not easy, regardless of who you are. Getting it done on the road course in a stock car is not an easy task. And for Nick Curling, he wins the first visit to the Sonoma Raceway in, what'd you say, Jim, 5 years that the series has been here?
Yeah, the last time we were here was 2015. Peter mentioned that this was a endurance race. How about an endurance broadcast? We did that that whole 45 lap race with 0 commercials, so flag to flag coverage here on 3 Wide TV.
Absolutely. And, you know, my throat is a little bit sore. My mouth is a little bit dry. So why don't we step away here for just a brief moment on 3 Wide TV? We're going to line up some interviews with your top finishers here tonight. I'm very interested to talk to tonight's race winner, the number 10 machine of Nick Curling. We'll be right back here on 3 Wide TV.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers. Because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the number one choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to Sonoma Raceway, where tonight's War Turtle Racing Wine Country Grand Prix has come to a close, and one of the War Turtle Racing machines has made it to victory lane. But we do have a few interviews before we get to talk to Mr. Curling. But before we get to that, Jim, it's been great having you up here in the 3 Wide TV booth again. We've had you up here a couple times. And I got to say, a lot of fun here tonight for something a little bit different. We've really enjoyed it. You know, we got some fun races here coming up. Tell us a little bit about what we have looking forward to on the schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to, I believe it's Chicagoland Speedway next week, and then Indianapolis Motor Speedway opens up, actually ends the month of June. The NASCAR version, it opens up the month of July. Then we head on off to Kentucky and New Hampshire. And then Iowa and Pocono coming up there to kind of end July. So a great schedule coming up with some really great races. You guys are going to have some really good broadcasts along the way as well. And I want to thank you guys for having me up here. We didn't make any mentions of our favorite home improvement store that has 11% off this week, but that's all right. And yeah, just thanks, guys. And really excited about the race tonight. That was a really exciting race to watch.
Absolutely had us on our toes, but best of luck, Jim. We'll let you get back to your jobs at hand as the, well, out-of-race official here today, or lack thereof, and, of course, running the league. Best of luck there, bud.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you guys back on 3 Wide TV, hopefully before Watkins Glen, but you just never know. It'll probably be Watkins Glen before I make it back up to the TV.
All right. Well, folks, that was Jim Foose, our guest commentator here tonight. But now we got some interviews to do with your top 3 finishers, and let's see if we can dial up your third place finisher, Mr. Doug Mullins. And here he is. Doug, Peter Short in the 3 Wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty good, and I gotta say, fantastic job here tonight, keeping that number 18 machine nice and clean. I know there were a few little hiccups along the way, but that Sliced Perky Pints 18, lots of purple on that race car, and coming up just a couple positions short here tonight. Tell us a little bit about your race.
Yeah, overall, you can never complain about top three, especially at a track like this with some of the talent that was on the track. It was something else. I need to go sit down and chill out for a few minutes because it was pretty intense.
I mentioned it during the broadcast that a road course race with no cautions, 45 laps, just heads up, 45 laps, go for it. It's like an endurance race. It's mental out there on the racetrack, trying to hit your marks lap after lap. A lot of focus. In fact, probably more focus here about your throttle control, your attitude of the car, how it's behaving corner after corner after corner, in comparison to some of the ovals where you kind of get in that groove. Here, you don't really have the opportunity to get into a groove. Tell us a little bit about that and how that goes into your mindset for these road course races.
Yeah, for sure, and especially here. I mean, I think the track was varying. My crew chief app was telling me between 108 to 119 at one point. The track probably was higher at one point, and that's something coming into the week that I really had a hard time with was not burning the back tires off. And I gotta give a huge shout out to my team because we practiced a good amount this week, and between Will and Tyler. Pretty much pounding it into my head to lift up off the gas a little bit. That I got to give as much credit to myself for getting the P3 to my teammates. Fletch was in there practicing with us. We were able to offset some hosting costs with sharing them with some other teams and whatnot. So it was great. I got to give a lot of credit to those guys. They helped me out a lot.
Yeah, you definitely showed your pace with a second place qualifying run and backing that up with a podium finish here tonight. Of course, we do go to Chicagoland in 1 week's time. A little bit different of a racetrack from this one. No turning right, at least no turning significant rights in that race.
Turned right anyways.
But you're looking forward to Chicagoland?
I don't know if I've raced on that track more than maybe one time ever. I'm completely new to oval racing. Well, I can't say completely new anymore. Last year was me getting into ASRS, and that was the first time I had ever done ovals. And so, yeah, I'm excited. I can't say that I'm excited because I'm any good at it, but I'm excited to work with my team and go out there and have another strong finish for Will Worsler Racing. We're starting to get some momentum on these top 10s consistently with multiple drivers, and so hopefully we can continue that right on into the next race.
Absolutely. I know you've mentioned a couple people throughout your interview, but anyone else you want to give a shout out to here before we let you go?
Obviously, league admins. This is a good league. Happy to be here. I hope it goes on for a long time. 3 Wide, you guys are great. Again, I can't wait to watch the broadcast. Got to do a shout out to Nikki because I know she's watching and coaching. And Slice and Perky Pints obviously for sponsors. But if there's anybody I missed out there, sorry, but they know that I'm thinking of them whenever I get these kind of finishes.
Absolutely. A little bit of teamwork makes the dream work here for you here tonight. Best of luck next week at Chicagoland. We'll be looking forward to another top 5 run for that number 18 machine. Doug, best of luck.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, that was your third place finisher here tonight, and I do believe Mr. Greg Rentz has caught up with Mr. Greg Evans. A couple of Gregs. One finished in the second position here tonight. Mr. Rentz, take it away.
Yeah, Greg, it's Greg up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Hey, Greg, awesome job tonight staying in the top 3 pretty much the whole race. Fell back to 4th for a little bit, but rallied back and had another very, very solid run out there.
Yeah, we had a pretty good night. We had a little bit of an off-track accident. I just wasn't using my head in the bootleg, and I, kind of thought about that all night long. If I wouldn't have done that, I think I might have had a different outcome tonight. But that's why you got to run every lap, and just the small mistakes here, they can really cost you big.
And tell us about how important those small mistakes are, because you mentioned it a little bit there, but this is 45 laps. You're on the wheel the entire time. And if you make a small mistake, how long does it really take to recover from that? Or do you ever truly, really recover for that or from that? And you just kind of hope the guy in front of you makes a similar mistake?
Yeah, with the rules package with no cautions and that, I mean, it's every little mistake adds up, and you can't really get it back. Usually if you make a mistake during a race on the oval track or any other place, you can get a caution and kind of rebound and get a second chance at it. But on road courses, it's a totally different story. I mean, even if when you, like you said, when you make a mistake, it probably takes you at least half a lap to get back into a rhythm, or a whole lap. Um, and then we had to deal with some lap cars and that kind of gets you out of rhythm, and it's just a whole furlough of stuff that just can really get you out of rhythm here, because road course racing, it's all about rhythm, getting in that, and just turning lap after lap after lap, and whenever you make a mistake or a car gets in your way and you got to race them, it totally changes things.
Well, all in all, a second place finish after starting up in the top 5 and running there all day, that's got to feel pretty good for you. You got to be happy with that performance.
Oh, yeah, we're definitely happy with the second place. Just glad we rebounded. Like I said, I wish we hadn't made that mistake early on, but that's all on me. And we'll take it to second place and be happy with it for tonight.
Well, good news for you is we are leaving the road courses behind for the time being. Next week, we're right back into your wheelhouse. It's a big 1.5-mile oval sitting in the middle of Chicago. You got to be excited to be heading back to Chicagoland at a style of track that, quite frankly, you've just been dominant on this.
Yeah, we're excited. We're going to try to get some testing in later this week, and then we'll see what we got at Chicagoland. But hopefully we'll have a pretty good car there. And we'll see what we can do.
All right, well, race number 2 under car number 2, you finish in position number 2, so a lot of 2s on the board for you tonight. That's got to make you feel good, and no doubt you got some guys you want to thank. So,
yeah, definitely got to thank Sure Tape and Duct Tape and T-Rex Tape, iRacing iFlag. Oh man, my mind just went blank. It's been a long night. I'm sitting here sweating, but definitely got to thank all my teammates from Steel Horse Racing. My teammate over here, Sam Crow, John Vinfarellis didn't make it tonight. But yeah, and Carolina Simworks, I got to thank them as well.
all right, that's second place. Greg Evans in the number 2, most wins on the season, and another great performance here today. Congratulations on another.
Thank you guys. Like I said, thank you guys for broadcasting this. It adds a whole new element to this and makes it a lot more excitement. I appreciate it, guys.
All right. Well, folks, that was your second place finisher. Sorry to cut you off, Mr. Rentz, but I have made it down to victory lane. I'm so excited to talk to driver of the number 10 machine, the War Turtle Racing number 10, of course, winning the War Turtle Racing Wine Country Grand Prix. And Nick, Jay said at the beginning of the show in the chat that you had done a ton of practice for this race. Well, I'll tell you what, it has paid its rewards, because you get to go to victory lane for the first time this season in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. Tell us a little bit about your run. Tell us a little bit about the practice that went into this victory here tonight.
First I got to give a shout out to Doug and Greg on really pushing me the entire race. I didn't run away with it by any means. They really kept me on my toes. With the track being as hot as it was, I think it was up towards like 120. You were just sliding all over the place. So the main goal was just to keep all 4 tires on the pavement. And so I did that, and just trying to be as smooth as possible, and the speed comes from being smooth.
Yeah, and talking about being smooth, I mean, tell the people watching how much you're not only racing the track, but you're almost racing your foot pedals around these road courses. It's not easy to get around these tracks, especially Sonoma, which is probably the most technical road course that we go to all season long in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series.
Yeah, absolutely. I was telling Greg in the post-race chat that I think the last 10 to 15 laps, I don't know if I went full throttle more than a handful of times. The car just wants to spin, so I mean it's just being as delicate as you can. Sometimes instead of accelerating, you just coast, alternating the brake pedals sometimes at the same time. Downshifting is probably the most important thing in my opinion here. Really timing your rev matching. So yeah, I would say you're more racing the track than you are other drivers, especially here.
Well, he did a fantastic job of it here tonight, and of course getting War Turtle Racing's first win. Jay said that when he first founded the team, he told Jim Foose that the first win would be you on a road course. Well, you got the job done here tonight. How awesome is it to go to victory lane in a series like this where there's so much talent on the racetrack at all times?
Well, yeah, so that's basically what it is. It's just this league is so stacked with talent that I got to kind of pick my domain and really perfect it. Road racing is my domain, and I didn't want to leave here without going to victory lane, so I'm just happy we achieved that tonight.
Absolutely. Well, next week we do have Chicagoland Speedway, much different. I said to Doug Mullins a little bit ago that you shouldn't be turning right at Chicagoland Speedway, but what are your thoughts about going to that mile-and-a-half D-shaped oval?
It's going to be, I would say it's a little similar. A really worn-out surface, so it's it's going to be a lot of footwork on the throttle. The package, I have to believe, is going to be different. So it's going to take a lot of practice to get my mind switched back to oval racing instead of road racing.
Well, it'd be good to back up next week with a strong run with all the momentum that you got from winning here tonight. But before we let you go, I'm sure you've got some shout-outs for us.
Oh, I got a laundry list. I got War Turtle Racing, all of our drivers, both in the league and those that aren't in the league. Canalids, Thompson Auction Service, Home Painter, Glassdoor Brewing, Victory Lane Quick Oil Change, Sim Experience, Samuel Torres Helmets, Lori Insurance, Basil Yoga Studio, Sim Lab, Brace Lab Apps, Hacksaw PCs for all they do sponsor the league, Jim and Sam and all the work that they put on for the ASRS League, and of course you guys here at 3YTV. So thanks for putting this on.
Yeah, you actually did have a fan in the chat here tonight, Anthony Brisler, saying number 10, Curlin, my man, right up at the start of the show. Great to see that. A little bit of moral support around this racetrack, and you were able to get the job done. But Nick, best of luck next week at Chicagoland, and hopefully you can carry this momentum forward.
We're going to try. Thanks, guys.
All right, that is tonight's race winner, winning his first Hacksaw PC's Premier Series race of the season, Nick Curling. And Greg, crazy race, a lot of action, cars all over the racetrack, and in the end, Nick Curling got the win.
Yeah, outstanding performance by Nick Curling, leading, looking at it right now, led 43 of 45 laps. Outstanding performance by Nick Curling tonight. If you want to make a statement, that's how you go out and do it.
Absolutely. Let's see if we can bring up the final results here tonight. Nick Curling taking that win, like we said. Greg Evans coming home in second. Only 1.4 seconds back thereabouts. So it was pretty tight right up there at the end. Doug Mullins in the number 18, about 18 seconds in the rear of Greg Evans. Yazik, with that slightly different strategy, it paid off for him. Finishing in the fourth position. We're a little bit concerned he might run out of fuel, but he did not. Kept it on the racetrack. Good job for him. AJ Digby getting his first career top 5 in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series in that number 14 machine. Woody Mahan finishing behind him, about 5 seconds behind him in 6th. Tyler Seville, he basically stayed out as long as he could under that first run. And unfortunately, that strategy didn't work out for him because he had to pass some cars, and getting around cars proved a little bit tricky for Seville. He comes home 7th, although that is one spot better than where he qualified. John Jenkins, your point sitter coming into tonight, comes home with a solid 8th place run. Mitch Brown, your reigning Hacksaw PC's Premier Series champion, inside the top 10 in 9th. And Will Worsler, after having that heavy collision with the tire barrels right there out of turn number 10, he's going to recover and finish inside the top 10 here. Greg, good job by Worsler to keep a wounded race car going to the end.
Great job by Will Worsler to finish in the 10th position. The final 2 cars on the lead lap, actually the final car on the lead lap, was the number 39 of Mark Cohn. And we talked about him earlier in the race that we were looking for him to have a breakout performance. Finishes on the lead lap in 11th. Great job by Mark Cohn. First car 1 lap down was Grant Brown in the number 52, coming home in the 12th position. Troy Haight, Adam Jersky, and Alan Young round out the top 15, although Alan Young still probably feeling pretty good about that win on Thursday in the 1987 cars. That's got to feel good for him. Still, he comes home 15th tonight. John Broussard in the 16th position with Sam Crow, Richard Stallings, James Lorello, and Jason Stewart, all 1 lap down. They round out the top 20, Peter.
In the 21st position, the number 33 of Tony Schoen, who had a pretty uneventful race. Did have a little bit of damage on that race car, but a pretty quiet race for Tony Schoen. No major accidents that we saw in the broadcast. Michael Krobach had that huge accident in turn number 6 that we saw right around the halfway mark, and unfortunately he wasn't able to rebound from that. Finishes 2 laps down in 22nd. He had to take a tow back to pit road. That's what sent him well down the order. Tim Knott in the number 41 machine, he finished in 23rd. Cody Spiker 24th. Christopher Bouchard involved in an accident right there in turn number 2 on the first lap, and then had some connection troubles. And that's why he finishes well down the order here tonight. Edward Bray right behind him in 26th. That pass for 25th was made in the final 10 laps, so Bouchard was able to recover and get around Bray. Behind Edward, though, Chris Hughes in the number 22 machine. Pete Baskins in 28th. John Gallagher, man, I'll tell you what, it was an uphill battle for Gallagher right from the start, but he prevailed, finishing 6 laps down in 29th position. Then we have a plethora of cars that did not finish here tonight. 30th spot, Chris Stouffer, Richard Fletcher in the number 43 machine, finishing 31st. Jimmy McKee, Kelsey Rogers, Michael Whiting, Mark Myers, J.R. Bash, and Todd Kirkwood, all DNF. Ty Hester, he did not start the race, so we have 37 cars start. And like you mentioned, Greg, Nick Curling led 43 of the 45 laps. Spectacular race for him. But you expecting to see something similar at Chicagoland? I'm certainly not, Greg.
Not a chance. If I would have to say a race we were expecting, probably go back a few weeks ago when we were at Kansas. That would probably be about the closest thing I could describe to what we're about to see at Chicagoland, Peter. It's going to be a fun race. 1.5 miles with this new aero package. The 1.5 miles are definitely very, very interesting. The aero package that these guys run. Definitely looking forward to seeing what happens next week.
Absolutely. Before we go, I want to give a few shout-outs to some of the sponsors of the league. Of course, War Turtle Racing jumping on board for the Wine Country Grand Prix here tonight. Hacksaw PCs for sponsoring the league. Surf Pro for sponsoring the Surf Pro Wheelman Showdown. We will have the Surf Pro Wheelman Showdown race coming up. Looking forward to that championship within a championship that resumes at the Brickyard 200 in just a couple weeks. American Regardless, Glass Door Brewing, Victory Lane Quick Oil Change, Kirkwood Transportation, Patriot Media and Marketing, Step Tire, and Falcon Race Reps. Also, want to say before we go, got to give a shout out to Mr. Carlos Acosta for manning the cameras here tonight. He had to go around and make some of the cameras prior to this race. Was a very busy man prior to the green flag dropping here tonight before the broadcast went live. And got to say, Carlos, you did a great job here with the camera angles tonight. But for myself, Peter Short, Greg Rentz, and of course Carlos Acosta and Mr. Jim Foose, who's off doing his business, being the league admin and all that good stuff, we want to give each and every one of you a good night. We'll see you next week, same time, same place for the Glassdoor Brewing 200 at Chicagoland Speedway. See ya!